Dorney Park has so much potential, but it always seems overshadowed by other parks in the area. And of course, with the recent merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair and a number of other closures, this park could very well be on the chopping block. But let's go through its ride lineup and see what's worth keeping and what should go. Let's start with a rather unique ride, something that you do not see very much these days. I don't know how many of them are actually left, but the ride in question is Demon Drop. Now this is an Intamin drop tower. It's one of the very early models, and there's a lot of debate about whether this counts as a coaster cred or not. Personally, I ticked the box on coaster count, so for me, I did count it, but I know some in our group did not. It's this weird contraption that you get in and like each car, there's multiple cars in this, each car has 4 seats in it with over-the-shoulder restraints, and they're not the most forgiving restraints. Certainly if you're sitting at the end, the kind of arm that's at the outside of the car will be kind of restricted. There's not much movement and stuff that you can do. So you get in this thing, you go backwards into a kind of lift, you're elevated up, and then there's a ridiculous amount of clanging and clunking as you sort of position yourself ready for the drop. And then of course it does drop you in a kind of curved motion, so you end up lying on your back facing up to the sky. That part is fine, right? Actually, it's a really good drop, really thoroughly enjoyed it. The bit that's really weird though is coming back into the station, because there's this kind of weird lowering you down to the kind of track underneath and then reversing you back into the station, which yeah, wasn't the most comfortable thing. It's an interesting ride. I did enjoy it for the drop, and I do believe this has previously been in Cedar Point, so yeah, it's definitely, whether it's in this park or if this park does eventually go, it's definitely one that I would keep. Sticking with towers, they do have a more traditional drop tower. Well, it's actually a shot and drop combo known as Dominator. And I did both. I did the shot, I did the drop. They're okay. Nothing special. In fact, when I did the shot tower, so you've probably already seen this. I'll link it at the end of the video, but you know, I was there during a mini heat wave, so it was quite hot. The shot tower, when we got put in the seats, clearly nobody had been on it for a while, and the seats had been sitting in the sun. So they were toasty, it wasn't very comfortable. But you know, it did its thing, shot us up, it was all good. The drop one was pretty good in that, and I said this in the video as well, right? You obviously know that a drop is coming, but you don't know when the drop is coming, and it caught me off guard, and I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, listen, they're all right, they're nothing special. It's just a standard, I think, S&S set of towers. Pretty sure by the restraints it's S&S. I'm going to put this one in take it or leave it because it's alright, but there's other things in the park that I would rather do. Right, get back onto the coasters then. When we got to the park, we had some ERT, some exclusive ride time before the park opened on their latest coaster, their B&M dive coaster known as Iron Menace. These parks, the sort of Six Flags, Cedar Fair parks, they're not typically known for theming, right? So don't expect much here. There's a couple of little bits, like there's some stuff in the queue line, the kind of station building's got a little bit of theming, but that's not really what these parks are all about. So, you know, it is a B&M dive coaster. It's one of the ones with the new vest restraints, and it was okay. Like, I did it front row to begin with, because we were allowed to get on-ride filming before the park opened, so I did a POV, and I thought that's pretty smooth, it's not bad, quite like this. Again, if you've seen my series, we did a lot of new modern B&Ms, and I've said this many times, I'd imagine the public probably don't notice it, but to enthusiasts who know B&M and know how good quality they have been, they've lost that quality, right? So there's a bit of a rattle. Didn't experience that on my first ride on this one, front row, thought nice and smooth, happy days. However, I did go back on it again a couple of times. It also broke down and I got stuck in the brake run. The further back I went, the more I noticed that rattle. Now again, it's not uncomfortable, it's not severe, but there is definitely a bit of a shake to that train for a brand new ride, which is kind of frustrating. That said, it is still a good ride, it is still fairly comfortable, those vest restraints definitely help, and it is one that I'll put in a keep pile. So there's a ride here that I didn't go on, and you'll know why I didn't go on them, because I bloody hate them. And I've mentioned them in some of these other review videos, because for whatever reason, in the American parks we went to, they're common, and I hate them. And theirs is called Linus Launcher, and it's one of those Zamperla cheese toasty maker things. Like, they're not comfortable. The restraints aren't great, especially if you're a guy, because, you know, between your legs, just not good. And it doesn't do anything. Like, even if it wasn't uncomfortable, I get it, it's a kid's ride, it's in Snoopy Land, it's not designed for adults, it's not meant to be thrilling, but I just don't know what it's for and what it does. They seem to be popular. I personally don't like them, so for me, I would scrap it. But then I'm not the target demographic. So the next coaster here is something that was new to me. It's not a new attraction type by any stretch of the imaginations, but I had never experienced one. The ride is known as Possessed. Now this is an Intamin Twisted Impulse coaster, and I believe there used to be a larger version of this at Cedar Point. Unfortunately, when I got there, it had been removed. We'll do the review on that in a few weeks' time. But this was the first one I'd done, and it's obviously a kind of shuttle style because it just goes back and forward up these two spikes. One's twisted, one is straight. And there was more to it than I expected. Insofar as, in my head, it was just going to shoot you along, do kind of a twist, shoot you back, up the spike, maybe do it twice and then back to the station, and that was it. It felt like it did it 4, 5, 6 times. It just kept going back and forward, sort of swinging, getting further up and stuff. And it's got a bit of a punch to it. So, I mean, there's not a huge amount to it, and obviously throughput can't be great because it has only a single train, but I did enjoy it, so I'm going to put it in the keep pile. Right, switching back to flat rides then, they have Huss Enterprise, which imaginatively is known as Enterprise. Seems quite a few parks have done this in the past. And I was a little bit disappointed with it, if I'm honest. Now, I've done various of these rides. There used to obviously be one at Alton Towers, I've done one in Wallaby Holland, I've done this one, I've done a couple of others elsewhere, and they do vary quite a bit, right? For it being basically the same model, I don't know if it's to do with maintenance, if it's to do with the age, or whatever it is, but some of them are really good and forceful, and others are a bit of a letdown. This one was sort of somewhere in the middle. It was, again, stinking hot, so I thought, oh, this will give me a nice breeze. It kind of gave me a breeze. The problem was the breeze was coming from the heat off the motor. So every time I went past the motor, this waft of hot air hit me in the face, which didn't really help. Coupled with that though, the spinning on this one didn't feel like it was going fast enough. If you've been on some of the better ones that kind of go more vertical, you'll know how this works, right? Basically, you are pinned to this seat. It's just physics, there's no restraints. But in this one, so when you're kind of going upside down and coming back again, I kept sliding forward in the seat, and then I get pushed back in the seat, and then I slide forward in the seat. That shouldn't happen. Like, you pretty much should just be pinned because it should be going fast enough. So it felt like this just wasn't running at full cycle, at full speed, should I say. So it was alright, and definitely not the best one I've seen, but as I've said before, parks need flat rides to kind of soak up the crowds. So I'll put it in take it or leave it, but definitely not the best Enterprise that I've been on. Right, so this next one kind of was a little bit odd. Now, the ride in question is Steel Force, and it kind of caught me off guard a little bit because on the face of it, it looked like it was an Arrow coaster. The track design, the trains, etc. looked very, very similar to Magnum XL and the big one. So I was like, oh, this is Arrow. It's not Arrow, it's Morgan. Now there's a connection between the two companies. I think there's somebody left Arrow and set up Morgan or something along those lines. So there's reasons for this similarity. Anyway, getting this ride. The first ride I had on it was near the front, 3rd row, 4th row, something like that. And it was pretty forceful, quite a bit of airtime. It was a lot of fun. There's this kind of helix bit that's got a lot more force than you would expect. And then I went on it again towards the back, and it was a very different ride. There was just not the same forces in it. You know, sometimes the back row is where you want to be because you get whipped over elements. Didn't feel that at all. So my first ride I enjoyed, the second one wasn't as good, but nonetheless it is still a decent coaster, and it is one that I'm going to put in the keep pile. Right, we're about halfway through this video, and as always, I'd love you to like and subscribe, but I'd also like you to go and take a peek at my other social media channels as well, because I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on various others as well, but those two I post daily, and certainly when I'm in a park you will see what I'm up to through my stories, so it's a good way to keep in touch with me. Now, on that trip when I was in the US, I did multiple B&M invert coasters. It seemed most, if not, well, not all parks, most parks had one. So there was a wide variety of them. Some were pretty good, some were not so good. This park has one known as Talon, and it was definitely one of the better versions. Now, I say that, it was one of the more enjoyable, smoother, old school B&Ms, so you know, pre-rattle, had the roar and all that kind of good stuff. What was strange about this one though, and again, went on multiple on this trip, the restraints in this one were a lot less forgiving, should I say. I got on it, but it was a lot harder to get that seatbelt to close than any of the others I'd been on, which is kind of odd because when we were in Busch Gardens, when we did the behind the scenes, they said that the seatbelt is purely there to see if it's closed far enough. Now I'm assuming it's true for most of the B&M inverts. I don't know if they would just left this seatbelt a little bit shorter, because surely the restraints click to the same level on all of these, or most of these. I know some of them, Alpengeist had a couple of rows that were adjusted for larger guests, so I know they can adjust it. But yeah, this one was a little bit trickier to get on. I got on it, but it wasn't as easy to get on. Nonetheless, the ride itself was fantastic, and it's, as I say, one of the better versions of the B&M invert that we experienced on this trip. So it's another one. Let's go down that Cape pile. There's another B&M though that is not quite the same. Now, if you've seen the rest of these videos, you will know that I don't seem to get on very well with B&M floorless coasters. I don't seem to get on very well with RMCs either. And I get it, look, this, as all these videos are, is personal opinion, right? And a lot of it will be down to our personal preferences, but also our physical shapes, right? Restraints work better for different people. For me, the restraints on the floorless coasters, they're just not designed for somebody of my size. So their B&M floorless is Hydra. And it's a decent looking ride. It's got this nice, I think it's a JoJo roll. Basically it does an inversion coming out the station before it's even hit the lift hill. There's some nice touches to it. You know, it had reasonable amount of force. The layout wasn't too bad. For me, as I say, me and B&M floorless just don't agree because my head is, yet again, right between these two over the shoulder restraints. So even the slightest bump and I'm smacking my head off the sides. So I wouldn't get rid of it because it's an alright coaster. And again, if you are somebody of a different size, you'll probably have a very different experience to me. But personally, I'm going to put it in take it or leave it. So the park does have some water rides, and I didn't experience all of them. It was a very hot day when I was there, and as I've said many times before, that's the kind of days you want to go on the water rides. I did go under log flume. Now it's called Thunder Creek Mountain. It wasn't the longest layout, but it was pretty good. I think the frustration I had with this one was the loading. I have a funny feeling it is a dual station, but they were only running one side the day we were there. So all the boats were kind of stacking on the kind of in the way into the station, which didn't help. So operations weren't the best for this one. Ride itself was alright, definitely got wet on it. So it is another one I'm going to keep. So they do have a wooden coaster here, known as Thunderhawk. Now this is the one that it turned 100 last year, I believe. So obviously 101 this year. It was okay, I think is probably the best way I can put it. It wasn't the best. Now again, obviously some of these you've got to take into account their age, right? You're not going to get a 100-year-old coaster that is glass smooth. Don't expect that. Just didn't find this one that good. And then there's a trim brake for absolutely no reason part of the way around the course, which just kind of kills it. So again, it's an older ride, and as I've always said, I think parks need a good combination of old and new. So I'm not going to get rid of it, but certainly I wasn't that impressed with it. Put it in take it or leave it. Right, getting back to flat rides then. So again, if you've seen the rest of this series, there's a type of ride that I managed to encounter a few times over in America, which I believe we've completely lost here in the UK now, and that is the whip. So, you know, it's an interesting little ride, right? It's kind of a nod back to an older time, because I don't think they make them anymore. I don't think they would ever reintroduce them, although I do enjoy them. But I think I described it in another video where, like, at the two ends where you're going round, you're obviously getting whipped, hence the name. And it's a lot of fun, you know, way around the corner. But then there's these two straights where you're not, and it's quite dull. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But nonetheless, as I say, it's an old style of attraction that I like to see kept. And I just wish we still had at least one in the UK, but we don't. So I'm going to keep it. Right, going back to the coasters then, they have their Wild Mouse. And it's a fairly standard model. It's actually not a bad one. It was reasonably fun and quite smooth. What was a little bit odd about it though was the operations. So again, when we got there, we were fortunate enough that as part of our group deal, we were given a fast pass. which, you know, it wasn't busy enough to need that to skip the queue per se, but it was handy to avoid going through all the cattle pens, because even in a small queue, there's a lot of walking to get to the station. I went through the fast pass queue on this one. Now, bear in mind, the trains can hold 4 people, right? 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Their policy is no more than 2 people from fast pass per train. Strange, okay, get it. Maybe there's just, you know, they're trying to just keep the other queue moving. Not really, because they would put the 2 people from fast pass in the train on their own. So it's not like they would get 2 people from the standby queue and fill the train. They literally just sent it. So we were in a group of 4 and we were like, well, there's 4 of us, can we not just share a train? No, you have to go in 2 separate trains and there'll be a gap between you because I'm going to take people out the main queue. Like, I understand kind of mixing the 2 queues to keep them moving and stuff, but as I said, they had a train at half capacity. They didn't use the standby line to fill it, so why didn't they use? Anyway, that's by the by. Operations are a different thing entirely. The ride itself was fine, kind of enjoyed it, and yeah, it's one I'd go back on, so let's keep it. One more credit in this park, and it's the typical shameless kids cred. Now this one is known as Woodstock Express, and it's a fairly standard layout. There's nothing special around this one. Very similar to some of the others we did on this trip. What's also similar is their policy for loading the train. As you'll have heard me complain before, unlike over here, where they would allow a parent to sit spread across the 2 seats, and over there you have to be on one side, which, you know, they're designed for children. Again, said it many times, parents go on with their kids, still needs to accommodate adults, and it does a terrible job. So some of our group did not get on this ride. I just managed to get on. It was not comfortable. It was a 3-lap special, and I kind of wished it was a 1-lap special. But listen, it's alright for kids. I think they'll enjoy it, and obviously they'll fit because it's designed for them. So for that reason alone, I am going to keep it. But yeah, for me, it was a one and done. I got the credit. Never go back on it again. I do have one more favour to ask of you. Right now, up until the 1st of September, voting is open for the UK Theme Park Awards. So if you haven't already voted, please do so. I've been nominated for Best Developing Content Creator, and it's a fairly tough category, so every vote counts. There are tons and tons of categories to vote in: Best Theme Park, Best Ride, Best Event, etc. So please vote in as many as you can, and skip the ones that maybe you don't have an opinion on. For everyone who has voted, thank you so much. Right, now they've got a train ride, and if you watch the channel long enough, you will know I enjoy a train ride. Typically it's a kind of way to relax after, you know, either in the heat or if you've just had your food and you don't want to go on any extreme rides. So theirs is known as Zerphyr, and it's quite a nice styled train. But the problem with it is that it doesn't do a good job at either of the things that trains would normally do. So I've just said it's a nice thing to do when it's hot. This one is not, because it's an enclosed train and it was like a sweatbox. It was not comfortable. Right, well, we're on the Zerphyr train, and as Andy was just saying, it's an absolute sweatbox. These things are tiny. The second thing is, it's a nice way to relax and see the park. Well, kind of, except because of the design of the train, you can't really see out very well. So then you kind of poke your head out to see what's going on and get shouted at by the guy that's operating it for putting body parts outside. Or you're putting your phone or your camera outside to try and take a picture, you get shouted at. So it's kind of a weird one, because I think it would be quite good. Like, it takes you around some of the rides and some of the back of the park and stuff. Like, from what I could see, it looked like it would be good. And the train looks good off-ride, it just practically doesn't work. So I wouldn't get rid of it, but yeah, maybe they could fix the train design. In the meantime, let's put it, take it or leave it. So there's my review of the bulk of the park. Now, there are some other attractions I didn't touch on, some ones I didn't get on, as well as some of the kids ones. Typically I skip those ones, as you know. But yeah, there's more stuff here in Keep than the others, although there are quite a few in Take It or Leave It. But I am curious about this one, as I've said already. With the recent merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair, they have been culling a number of parks and attractions, and this one's a reasonably good park, but it's dwarfed by some others. So let me know what your thoughts are down below, what rides you like and what rides you don't like, and what you think the future of the park holds. As always, I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and if you haven't seen the video of me in Dorney Park, I'll chuck it up here.